Okay, let's look at adding sections to our site. So if we click edit, a section is essentially anything from this blue line at the top here to the bottom and then anything in between it. So a section can either have a background image, or it could have a color. So in this example, we actually have this image sitting over the top here, and then we have the color going on. And then what you can do is a couple of different things. So you can not only just auto change the layout, and there are some suggestions that could be offered to you here, but then you can come in and edit the section. You've got a whole heap of controls that you can go and do, including then putting, for example, dividers in and being able to change the shape for that, changing the height. Then inside of the background, you could change the image and go and replace that. You could pick any of these. Then looking at the color. So the color then relates to the content that's sitting on the page itself. So I've got it sitting in darkest 1, but I could change it and put here. So again, you can see the text goes and changes, but just note that it also introduces, let's say, the overlay color as well. So let's just flip it back. And what I mean by overlay color is that is this that's sitting here. So this is just adding color between the image and the blocks that sit over the top. So again, you could dial this up and down, kicking in to add the number itself. Now this isn't adjusting the original image, it's just adding that extra layer in between. So that is editing the sections. Then you can duplicate them. So if I really like the look and feel of this, I can then come in and duplicate it. And then I could move it up and down my page. So it's like, great, I've got this section here, but now I can just come and change the content. So let's say I wanted this now in the center. I could go and do that. Now you've just seen that gold line go and appear here. This tells you that the content is dead in the middle, so I don't need to count the grid either side. And then the other thing is I can then do something like this, which then says that gold line appears on that section and then says, oh, the button itself is exactly the same size as the other block above it. Now, where this comes really useful is, let's say I have 2 buttons, then it will identify and say, oh, the block itself is exactly the same size as the other one that's on the page. So again, it just helps you to be able to then line things up and not have to count things. Then another thing with this section is you saw that grid appear and now it's disappeared. So if I press G on my keyboard, I can then get this grid to show me permanently, which is really useful if I want to go and line things up. I want to make sure this block fits the center of the line here. And then I can just press G and be able to pull that back. The other thing is that you can see this has got a little gap at the bottom here. So this is the row count, which you can see happening inside of here. And then I can just move this up and down to be able to change things. So you've got that there. That red is basically saying the row can't go any taller, any shorter, because it's hitting something in between there. But you can also change the height. So again, this natural bit of padding that's been added, I can go and change and adjust this. Now it's worth noting that if you're adjusting this, then it's also how it views on mobile itself. So for example, if you had this set to be large and you think, oh great, love the amount of breathing space that's happening here, come onto mobile and you might think, oh, actually, that's a bit too much. I want that to be shorter. So first off, let's just quickly change that. So how do we go and make sure that we can have big breathing room here, but then have it closed up on mobile? So pro tip for you, what I'd go and do is make it small. Then what I'd do is I'd select all of this and I might, let's say, add some natural breathing room. So I've got 3 there, I've got 3 at the bottom here. That's great. Looks great on desktop. On mobile, it's then, oh, this is looking nice, but might be a bit too close. So then you might want to add, let's say, 2 in here. I'm just holding Shift to select these and then pull that down. Press G again on my keyboard to release that. And then it's great. Really happy with this. This is looking great on desktop and on mobile. Super happy. Now, if you want to then reuse this one elsewhere around the website, you've got this heart. So I can then add this, and then it adds it to my saved sections. So how I can then get that back again is, let's say, add section elsewhere around the website, click on here, and then I can just insert it. So super useful to be able to keep reusing things. The other thing it does do is it does save the content that's sitting here. So you might want to either leave a placeholder, or you could just keep it exactly the same. But that's how sections work. And again, deleting something, really useful to then just clean up your page and do that. But if you are going to delete something and you want to go and keep it, you can often just heart and be able to do that. So those are how to use sections and some pro tips for you. Hope you found that really useful.